Hey, everybody, welcome. We're doing a wonderful podcast here. I think some of you have heard in the past, this man came on my show and brought me basically to tears, and I know many of you out there have commented on it, and we just thought that it would be a really good idea to expand on what's happening with this guy and what he's doing for his son and his family, and it's very impressive, and I hope some of you out there listening will be as moved as I was when he called. His name is Kenneth Crawford, and he is he's been many things. He was a fireman out at Tinker, and now he is teaching school and doing a lot of things. But the number one thing that Kenneth Crawford does is work to get his son Brian's memorial done and get it to where it needs to be. And they're getting closer and closer. Let's bring Kenneth in. Kenneth, thanks so much for coming on here, brother. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks a lot, Jim. I appreciate you guys and the sports animal.
So you called me the other day, and you know, the amazing thing about radio is that I have no idea what the call is going to be, you know, and I love that about it. So I could take a call on Tiger Woods, I could take a call on whoever, Russell Westbrook, and then I get a call from you. And you start to tell me a little bit about your story and your son Brian. So let's delve into it a little bit deeper. Tell us a little bit about, first, just your family. Tell us about your children and Brian and just how this whole thing started.
Okay, so we live in Shawnee. My wife, she's a retired school teacher out of Prague. Well, obviously, we're talking about Brian. Brad, my middle son, he works at a Tinker. And my younger son, he plays baseball out at Redlands. He's a pitcher out at Redlands. So, you know, I'm retired, like you said, and really for 15 years, this has been our whole life.
So let's go back to 2005.
Okay.
Wonderful family, obviously, 3 tremendous boys, and Brian had been through some things in his life. I guess he had a little bit of an abnormality in his foot, and he had to work really hard. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so when Brian was young, he was humongous. He was tall and big, and he grew really fast. And what happened was that on your knees, your condyles on your knees, you have weight-bearing sensors. And those sensors tell you how to shift your weight. Well, on those condyles on both his knees, they were dead. So he had to have surgery on both of his knees to put smart nails into the femur bone condyles to get blood to circulate through there. So he had tremendous knee problems growing up. You know, I'd say from about his junior high year, he started having knee problems. And then his junior year, I didn't want him to play. That's how bad it was. And he just had his second surgery on his knees. Dr. Cruz did the surgeries on in the city. And so I didn't want him to play. And then January of 2005, you know how fall baseball goes. Hey, if you're not on the team in the fall, you got a lot of makeup to do in the spring. For him to get back on the team, he had to run 20 miles. I'm not crying, no way. You're not going to do that. Dad, I want to. I want to play. I want to compete with my friends. I want to be with my friends.
Sure.
And it really touched me.
He loved the game of baseball, didn't he? He loved it.
He loved baseball, and you know that's what our life was growing up. You know, all through sports, youth sports, competitive baseball, making the circuit, traveling, having a lot of time, a lot of good times, and that's where he was physically. He wore titanium knee braces. He played first base because he couldn't do anything. I mean, he couldn't hardly run or anything, but he wanted to play. What do you tell your son? Hey, I want to play.
Yeah.
You know, I told him, I don't want you to be a cripple when you're 40 years old.
Right.
You know, but I really want to, Dad. So I'm like, hey, I support you. You know, get after it.
The other part of this is that he could really play the guitar, right? I mean, he was a great guitarist, right?
Yes, he was. Christmas of 2003 or 4, we bought the boys computers. And Brian had always played the piano, played the guitar. He was very musical, but I always thought of Brian as an athlete. I never was much into music. And so after he'd passed away, I got on his computer and found a lot of music that he had done.
And now I know where to begin to make my way to heaven.
I missed that part of him growing up, because I was kind of sports, and
Sure.
music. Oh, that'll be it. But the fun thing about that is that he had a music audition scheduled for the University of Central Oklahoma. He played the baritone, and he missed it to play a baseball game, and I was mad. Like, Brian, what are you doing? We're talking cancel scholarship. And so he rescheduled it. The band teacher was actually a former baseball player, which he understood. And so April 27th, the day before he had his accident, he auditioned. His mom went up there with him. She played the piano, and he played his instrument, and he got a scholarship for music. And that's when I realized that he's a musician that played a little baseball.
Yeah. So on April 27th, it was the day, I guess, that your wife, she would take the boys to Prague with her, where she taught, and Brian had a district game the following day, so he decided that he was going to drive himself. Let's go back to that fateful day that I know is awful tough for you, but tell us about that day, will you?
Okay, so April 27th is, kind of just a normal day. Getting up, going to the fire department, get up early, take off, doing our fire department stuff. My wife calls me about a little bit after 8 o'clock and says that we didn't have we had cell phones, but they were really new, so nobody hardly ever used them. So I got a call, talked to her. She said, Kenneth, Brian's been in an accident. They're taking me to him. I'm like, okay. Let me know what goes on when you get out there. And so, I'm just thinking, bad things don't happen. Bad things happen to other people. So I'm thinking in my mind, it'll be all right. And then I thought, well, the car might be in a ditch or something, and I may need to get it towed or something. So I go in there and tell my chief, I'm like, hey, Brian's been in an accident. They're taking Anna to where he's at. Don't know any other details. I'll let you know when I get out there. And so I take off going towards Prague. That day, Brian, my wife, she's a teacher at Prague, so the boys normally ride with her. Saves gas, 20-minute drive, 15-20-minute drive. But that day he had practice after school scheduled because, like you said, they had the district games planned for the next day. That was a Wednesday church function after school for my wife and my other 2 boys, so we let him drive, which was normal. I mean, we let him drive. We know that he was in a hurry. He called his mom sometime that morning, whether it was on the way or what. He wasn't going to have enough time to get his instrument out of her car that was in there from the previous day. And so he had called her and said, would you drop the instrument off the stand room on your way into town? I'm not going to have time to come by there and get that. And that's the last that we heard from him. So when you go from Shawnee to Prague, it's about a 15-minute drive. You go to Meeker, 4-way stop sign, and then you head east towards Prague. And as you come out of Meeker, it goes down a hill. Well, I was told that Brian was going to pass a car or a vehicle, big truck, going eastbound. He got out into the oncoming traffic. There was a car coming, so he got back into his lane of travel, but he got off the road onto the shoulder. And there was a pretty big lip right there on the shoulder. So when he tried to get back into his lane of traffic, he was in the opposing lane. And then that's when he veered off to the left and to miss the head-on collision, which was quick thinking. Unfortunately, about a mile down the road, they were going to redo a bridge construction, and they had dirt lined up all alongside the road. And when he swerved off the road, he hit those dirt mounds like they were like a ramp, and ejected him out of the vehicle.
So, I've talked to people before that have lost a child, and I just can't imagine what it is like to outlive one of your children. And, I'm not trying to, make this hard for you, but I think people out there would like to know, once you found out that Brian had passed away, what was that like for you and your wife and his two brothers?
A lot of unanswered questions. A lot of whys. I don't know. It's a bigger play. You have to believe there is a purpose and a plan. And I have to believe that Brian was a part of the Lord's plan. And his assignment here was completed. Now, I'm happy for Brian because he's in heaven. He's a good Christian young man. So I don't worry about that. But we were not worried, but we just wonder what would be, what our grandkids, Brian, what his life would have been. We wonder about that, but getting back to, I'm sorry.
You're okay. Don't worry about it.
Getting back to, lost my train of thought there for a
That's
second.
okay.
Getting back to how we felt.
I'll just tell you this, just as you're regrouping, as a Christian, that I'm a Christian, as you well know, you listen to my show, and I will tell you that, one of the things that has rubbed some people the wrong way, and I'm talking about people that I've worked for in the past, has been expressing my Christian faith on the air. And it is really, really hard as a Christian, to have faith that God has taken a young life and there's a reason behind it. And it's really hard to believe that that's what it is. In other words, you have to have some incredibly strong faith, don't you, Kenneth?
Yes, you have to have a lot of faith. And it gets to be a struggle. When we first started, I call it the memorial journey. When I first started this, I got this seed in me. We're going to do something. We're going to build this complex. And over the years, it's been tough. It's been really tough, but I have faith. I know this is the Lord's plan. I had approached this for sometimes trying to make this happen. Doing everything. I mean, I've done so much stuff behind the scenes trying to make this happen. I just had to pray about it. Just say, Lord, I can't do it. It's all on you.
Did you get mad at God? Were you mad at God for a while?
I've had emotions. I say immaturity mad, selfish mad.
Yeah.
But He's going to make things happen. I wanted, the day that I called you, I was going to call. I tried calling 3 times, or 2 times earlier that day, thinking I somehow I've got it. I need to get Brian, get something going for Brian.
Sure.
We're at a time. We're at a time where we have sponsorships and stuff going on, and really wanted to get the word out. And so I was going to call in and talk to the morning animal. And it rang and rang and rang. I'm like, maybe later. So I call in. Mark's got something going on. I call in, and it's busy. I'm like, it'll be all right. And then, you had your show, and I was listening. I was pulling into the complex, and you had made this statement. We're about helping people. We're not just a sport. We want to help. I want to help you. And I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna call. Boom. I don't know how I'm gonna talk about Brian, So we're going to talk about Brian somehow, some way.
Yeah.
You know,
Great.
and then the callers before that. And so if I don't listen to the Holy Spirit, I'm not doing what I promised I would do on this project. And when I felt that I needed to call and talk to you, that's the higher power. That's not just, I mean,
I'm in.
so I have to have faith. I mean, you know, and so that's what compelled me to call in that one day. And so, you know, there's so many things that work out that you pray about, but you don't realize it unless you really, like I have a GoPro and I'll record myself and I'll go back and listen to the day at the complex. I'm like, you know, kids, you prayed about getting some exposure for Brian's memorial. You got on the air with Jim Traber today.
Amen.
If you prayed about getting exposure for Brian and Baker called you out of the blue.
Right.
So you pray for it, Kenneth, and I'm going to make it happen.
I mean,
So,
listen, that's the great thing about being a Christian, man. I mean, praying, your prayers are not always answered, but boy, when they are answered big. And so, real quick, let's go back to, so you just thought after Brian passed away that you wanted to do some kind of memorial. You thought it was just going to be maybe like at Prague High School, or you were just going to do something, and God was just moving you to different places and things, and then it moved you to bigger things and things that like looked like maybe, I bet you an amount of money there were some people patting you on the head going, okay, Kenneth, good luck with that. And it's just bigger and bigger and bigger. Is that's kind of the way it's become, huh? Over the last few years?
Yeah, it has. Real quick, one of the things that I had done before Brian died, I ran a couple of fundraising tournaments for my baseball team. So the Lord was preparing me then. I didn't know it. And so when Brian passed away, I thought, you know what? We're going to have a memorial tournament. And so we had it at Shawnee, and we outgrew it. And he moved us to Norman. And we outgrew that, and we went to Chickasha. And then we moved to Choctaw, and then we moved back to Chickasha. You know, we've been all over the place. But at Prague, at the beginning, we were going to do something at the high school. That's what we felt compelled to do, just fitting. And it didn't work out. And I was upset. I mean, that's just me. Why not? You know, I was upset, but it wasn't his plan. And so I kept asking, Lord, you want me to build a complex? Give it to me, I'll run it. Kenneth, you're not ready. Show me you can run some tournaments. Didn't get back to me. Ran some tournaments for Brian's memorial. Started going pretty good. Lord, I mean, I'm 7-8 years into this. I need my complex. Let's go. Let's run this. You're not ready, Kenneth. I'm going to give you a complex. I'm going to let you run the Choctaw complex. Show me how you can do it. Be faithful. Walk the talk. I'm at Choctaw. Things are going really good. All of a sudden, the carpet gets pulled underneath our feet. Brian's memorial is left out. Seminole State College. Prayed about it, and that's the home.
This is your task. You are building a incredible sports complex at Seminole State College, and it's tell us first of all, what is going to be a part of it? I know there's obviously going to be a baseball field, but there's other things as well. Tell us about what it's going to be when it's all done.
Okay, so we'll have basically it's going to be 7 playing surfaces. It's all turf. We're going to have the Seminole State Trojan baseball stadium with the indoor facility, and then we'll have a high school equivalent field for high school and college level playing. Then we have an adaptive field for the not handicap. That's not the challenge. The special needs. Special needs, it's a little field for that, and then we'll have 3 youth fields, and then we'll have a college soccer field. And so it sits on about 40 acres, and we're getting real close to start laying some turf on a couple of fields now. And we'll have our entryway and our concession and press box. We already have I have a 7-foot, it's almost a 7-foot statue Brian already made.
Awesome.
That's going to be out there.
That's awesome.
They took, it was a fantastic, beautiful job. They took pictures of him and did it from pictures. It took them over a year to do it. It's fantastic.
That's great. Now, obviously, when you build something like this, I mean, you need money. I mean, you need money to be able to build something this special. And it's all being done by donations. I know that you yourself have put a lot of money into this situation, but there is need for people to donate money. So let's talk a little bit about that now. How can people get involved in this? I mean, I know that, heck, $10 can help. If people can give a bunch of money, it would be great as well. But you're on the back end of this thing, right? I mean, you're getting closer and closer, and you need some people to kind of end this thing, don't you? Get it to where you want to be.
Yeah, it would be really, really nice. Like you said, donations. And so over the years, we've been fundraising and having tournaments and doing really good for Brian's Memorial. You know, we have a scholarship endowment that we have as well. And so the college was going to, you know, they were interested in doing a stadium for the college. And so when we entered into discussions and talking and conversations, you know, with the Education Foundation, we just felt, you know, they offered us the naming rights for donation, and I was like ecstatic. This is exactly Brian's Memorial, and we have more people helping. But that's they can get involved. People can get involved. We'd love to have sponsorships. You know, we have chairs and dugouts and fields and stuff like that. But
so you're talking about companies, like companies that can do sponsorships?
Yeah, we have our fields. You know, for instance, you know, like our high school equivalent field. You know, we have a naming rights for the field, and then we have the dugouts and the scoreboards and stuff like that. You know, all that stuff is sponsorship. I added it up. There's about $2.2 million in sponsorships that we could raise. We're anticipating raising. You know, it's a $6 million project, and so the sponsorships really help on paying that. Donations as well. There's no, you know, a lot of times when you look at a project like this, you know, cities and towns do bonds to raise money for economic impact for the community. There's no bond for this. There's no, you know, there's none of that. I mean, it's donation.
So give out like where, like the people, like you've got businesses, but also just a regular person who just wants to give money. Tell them exactly where they can go to give some money to get this thing to where it needs to be.
There's a couple ways that they can donate. They can donate through Brian's Memorial, which you can go to BrianCrawfordMemorial.com, which is BRIAN, BrianCrawfordMemorial.com, or they can text. We have a text to give number. It's 405-266-2513. Imagine that, the number 13 at the end of it.
Is that the number he wore?
Yep.
I actually wore number 13 in the minor leagues. Wanted to wear it in the big leagues. They wouldn't let me. So now give that number again. 405
266
2513. So they can text that number, and then I guess something will come back to them?
Yep, something will come back to them for a donation. They can type in their amount. They hit submit. It goes into the memorial. They'll get an invoice back for their donation and all that.
So they can do that. PayPal, I guess. You guys get PayPal and credit cards. You do all that, right?
Oh yeah. Checks, credit cards, all that through Brian's Memorial, or you know, some people may want to go through the Seminole State College Educational Foundation, which is fine as well. We're all on the same page. We're on the same team. So,
all of it's tax deductible, I would assume.
Yep. What you have is you have a few foundations that are pulling together to pull this off. I mean, you have Seminole State College Educational Foundation. You have the Brian Crawford Memorial Foundation. We're in partnership with the Calvary Senior Foundation. We're in partnership with the other foundations for this one main project that the Educational Foundation has spearheaded.
Yeah. Have you been able to talk to Cal Jr. at all about this?
I have not. I have not. I know when he was out for the groundbreaking ceremony at Southeast High School, I was out there.
Right.
We may visit briefly, but I haven't. I think there's another gentleman that we talked to.
John Maroon? Was it John Maroon?
No, we talked to Chuck Brady.
Okay.
A lot.
Okay.
He heads it up for the foundation on their side, so we're working together for this. I mean,
good.
Like you were talking yesterday on the radio about, the sports complexes in your hometown, and I'm like, man, that's what I want here in Seminole.
Yeah, Junior's thing that he did up there in Aberdeen is pretty impressive. So I think I'm gonna probably call my boy John Maroon, who runs everything for Junior. What I'd like to do, and I'm not going to guarantee it, but what I'd like to see is if when this thing gets done, if Junior will come out and help open it up. It'd be really cool to get. I think that Junior would definitely do something like that. Okay, so Brian Crawford Memorial.com, or they can text 405-266-2513. I am imploring our wonderful listeners out there. I'm telling you, the power of the sports animal. I know when you called, you got a couple here and there, but we're really going to push this because I want to get this thing done, and I know you do as well, because it's just a wonderful thing. Kenneth, before we break this up, I want to ask you a little bit of a tough question here. One of the things that you wrote to me was the night before Brian passed away, you walked by his room and said in here that you should have checked on him, but you walked on by. There's always regrets for people, and I talk about this all the time. I don't know if you hear me, but I talk about like my mother and my father, how much I miss them, and about how I wish I could, spend some time with them or talk to them. And I try to tell people out there to talk, make sure you talk to your mother and your father and your children. And I just would like to get from your perspective, and I'm not trying to make a guilt trip or anything like that, because I know you were a great father. But can you tell me a little bit about that side of it, and maybe tell the people out there how they should cherish what's around them and thank God for what they have?
So the 26th, April 26th, Brian had, the school had senior awards, and I'm thinking, I'm there at the senior awards, and Brian's not getting any special accolades or anything, but he's graduating, and I'm sitting there thinking about all this. That night I go home, and Brian's playing his guitar in his room. Well, it's upstairs, and my office is right next to his room. And at that time, I'm studying for my college classes at D Central. I'm yelling at him, turn it down, and he's playing. And every time I hear this song, I just stop. He's playing. He was learning to play Simple Man.
Great song.
By Leonard Skinner.
Great song. Yeah.
And so I would yell at him, turn it down, and we would kind of get into a shout match a little bit, and I'm up till 1 or 2 o'clock doing my homework, and I pass his door. I'm like, I probably should just check on him. Like, nah, I'm going to bed.
Still hand in hand, she seems a little tense. I lean over and softly kiss her lips.
I feel terrible as a dad. I felt like I was selfish, thinking of myself. And as a Christian, you're not supposed to do that. And that's why for 15 years, it's been April 27th. And I don't know if I if I have guilt that I'm trying so hard, or, you know, I want to do what the Lord wants me to do. And that's, like I said, I wanted it so bad that I was begging and begging. What are we doing? You wanted me to do this. What are we doing? Until I finally said, I can't do it. Lord, you're going to have to do it. You're going to have people cross my path that I can talk to and get them to see what I'm trying to do or what we're trying to do. So many times, we would ask, and they'd say, well, you know, Kenneth, it's noble what you're doing. We wish you luck. But it's just been hard to get people to help. I mean, everybody in their heart, when they hear the story, they sympathize with that. And then their life, you know, they go on with their everyday life. This is my life. And it's been unfair to my family for 15 years. And I tell them that I've been doing this. I've had tunnel vision so long for this that for 15 years, I've kind of not paid attention to some things I probably should have. But I'm just trying to do what I feel I need to do, you know, and getting awareness out. Brian, Sports Complex, you know, we developed BCM Sports, which is Brian Crawford Memorial Sports, to do our tournaments and youth leagues and stuff like that. And to me, our youth league that we're going to be able to provide in our, you know, stuff like that is exposure to, yes, Brian's Memorial, but there's a bigger picture than Brian's Memorial. Brian's Memorial is a chapter to expose youth to that may never, ever get to hear about the Lord. And they're going to come and play at this place, and they're going to say, who's this Brian? Man, this place is nice. Why did they build it? And when you have youth ask questions like that, you have a chance to, like you say, shape their mind.
Yeah.
You do it on the radio. I do it on the baseball field or softball field or soccer field. I try to do for the youth that most people don't do because they're our future.
Well,
and we have to have them. And if we don't provide for them, especially in this day and time, we're going to have a lot more issues down the road.
Well, I got to tell you, Kenneth,
So,
I'd be willing to make a big wager that Brian is looking down and saying, hey, Dad, man, what you're doing is awesome.
you know, I've had some people say that, you know, and it is awesome for Brian. But there are literally hundreds of thousands of people that would love to do something like this for a member of their family.
Yeah. Well,
and I was just the guy that said, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah. Well, what you're doing is, what you're doing is big league. I mean, I'm so happy that you called in a couple weeks ago, and I think this is a great idea. I want to give it up to my man Chris Baker and Jay Pitts and all the guys that I work with who brought up this idea, because I think it is something that definitely needs to get out there.
I wanted to give it up to you because, and when we met at the casino, you know, I mean, we've never met before, and I was going to shake your hand. You're like, yeah, I want a hug.
Yeah.
Most people don't do that. That's just the type of person you are. And and this was deep down in my heart, I always knew that I wanted to get local people involved, but I wanted to get them involved from the memorial standpoint. I didn't want somebody to try to get a hold of Cal. Hey, Cal, try to get a hold of Jim. Hey, Jim, you know, that's not going to work. If you're bought into the memorial for what it is, it stands on itself.
Yeah.
And that's what I tried to do with everything that we've done with all of our fundraising and leagues and tournaments, is to document everything and be transparent. And that's the only reason we're similar, is because of that.
So it's BrianCrawfordMemorial.com or 405-266-2513. 405-266-2513. Send a text to that number and you can help out with this great, great cause. I cry like a little baby, man. That's what I am. I cry like a little baby, and I got tears rolling down my eyes right now. My nose is running like a little child. But I'm so happy to be able to get your word out there, and I'm really excited because I think this is God's way of saying, let's get this thing moving so we can finish it out and get it done, man. I really believe that. I really
You can
believe
also, if anybody wants to see kind of the progress, they can go to on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel, just Kenneth Crawford. There's a bunch of us apparently, but there'll be an icon that's got a picture of Brian. That's mine. But you can go to his playlist, Brian Allen Crawford playlist, and I upload drone and GoPro and photos and stuff like that. Just kind of document the build a little bit and progress and stuff like that to keep people aware of how we're going out here.
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, Kenneth, listen, man, thanks so much for calling into my show. Like I said, I feel like this is the beginning of something really big, and you let me know if there's anything else we can do here at the Sports Animal, okay, my man?
I really appreciate you. We have a bunch of necklaces and bracelets. I dropped some off. If you need some more, let me know. Or if people want to order them, they can order them online. We'll send them to them.
Great.
Stuff like that. But if you need stuff like that, let me know. I'll get them out to you.
All right, Kenneth. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
All right. God bless.